The Iranian parliament has voted to close the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz.
If Iran actually carry out what they've threatened to do, would be 3 times the size of the shocks we've seen in the past.
It would be, I think, a massive escalation that would merit a response, not just by us, but from others.
The ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran could plunge the entire global economy into recession.
What's up, guys? It's Graham here. So this is not the video I was expecting to make today, but you better brace yourself for what's about to happen. Over the last 48 hours, the United States and Israel have launched a coordinated attack against Iran's nuclear facilities and naval assets across the Persian Gulf. As a result, Iran has retaliated. Shipping, oil, and critical reserves are now effectively closed off from the rest of the world. The timeline of ongoing conflict is expected to last another 4 weeks. And if things don't hopefully resolve soon, the entire situation could get significantly worse. That's why we really got to discuss exactly what's happening, why the markets are beginning to panic, and the consequences of ongoing escalation when it comes to oil, shipping, food prices, and really the entire economy as a whole. Because the reality is, what happens next could reshape the entire market a lot faster than people are prepared for. Although before we start, I understand these could be sensitive topics to talk about, but there are real-world economic implications for practically everyone watching. So if you appreciate the breaking news, unbiased videos like this where we just cover the facts, it would mean the world to me if you hit the like button or subscribed if you haven't done that already. It seriously helps with the channel tremendously. It's really just me doing these videos really late and super early in the morning to get them out in time, and as a thank you for doing that, I will do my best to read and reply to as many of your comments as I can. So thanks so much, and also a big thank you to Incogni for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. Alright, so in terms of how we got here, to bring you up to speed, we have to talk about Operation Epic Fury. See, for those unfamiliar, throughout the last year, the United States has engaged in ongoing talks with Iran for fear that they could be dangerously close to creating a nuclear weapon. So the Trump administration drew a very clear line: scale it back or face consequences. Unfortunately, though, when those talks failed to produce an agreement, and intelligence suggested that Iran could be months or possibly weeks from nuclear capability, on February 28th, the US moved forward with strikes targeting Iran's nuclear infrastructure, missile production sites, and air defense systems in an effort to stop these nuclear advancements before it was too late. And on the surface, it seemed to be successful. However, in the hours that followed, Iran didn't back down. Instead, they retaliated. They targeted US military positions. They've attacked nearby alliances. Commercial flights are being diverted or completely canceled altogether. And key lifelines are being shut down in an effort to cut off the rest of the world. In fact, these next few days will completely determine whether or not this stabilizes or escalates to the point that changes the entire course of our economy. That's why the biggest question right now isn't what's happening, it's what happens next. And in terms of the biggest risk for global markets, we have to talk about the Strait of Hormuz. For those unaware, this is a narrow stretch of water that separates the Persian Gulf from the rest of the world. And in terms of its importance, one, it's surrounded by major oil-producing countries who make up half of the world's oil supply. Two, geographically, it's the only sea passage from the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. And three, Iran has significant influence to basically control whoever they want to enter or exit. And that's become the perfect storm. See, 1/5 of the world's oil supply and 1/3 of the world's natural gas passes through this small waterway on a daily basis. And unfortunately, there are very few alternatives if something or someone were to block ships from passing through. Meaning, a small stretch of water effectively controls the entire world. Now, in terms of who benefits the most from this strait being open, the honest answer is everybody. Like, sure, even though it's true that 84% of the oil that flows through here gets sold to Asian markets like China, by keeping it open, it frees up supply from other countries that helps us become more competitive. It helps keep prices stable, and global energy shocks are a lot less severe, all thanks to what's called the transit passage. This is a legal framework under the United Nations Law of Sea that allows commercial ships to pass through areas like the Strait of Hormuz. But there is a bit of a catch. Within this 2-mile-wide transit lane, parts fall within Iran's territorial waters. And even though they have so far complied with the United Nations, they've never ratified their agreement to allow for open transit, meaning they could turn their back and try to disallow ships from passing through their territory, which is what's beginning to happen. Over the weekend, Iran has threatened to close the strait entirely, which would cut off the flow of oil and basically shut down the entire world. And that's why the most immediate impact seems to be oil prices. On the most basic level, the United States uses almost 20 million barrels of oil every single day, which makes us the #1 consumer of oil in the world by far. But there is a bit of a catch. Since we only produce 18.6 million barrels of oil a day, we become reliant on other countries to fill that deficit. And this is where things get interesting. If the Strait of Hormuz got shut down, even just temporarily, all of a sudden, oil prices would rise, shipping costs would increase, production of raw materials goes up in price, and transportation would become that much more expensive. In fact, the Federal Reserve estimates that for every $10 a barrel increase in crude oil prices results in 0.2% more inflation. On top of that, the United States personally receives about 7% of its oil supply directly from the Strait of Hormuz, leaving us with no other choice than to pay higher prices to other exporting countries that are closer to us, like Canada and Mexico. Look, to give you an idea just how sensitive oil prices have become, even just the risk of a potential shutdown caused oil prices to spike 15% pretty much overnight. And in terms of how high prices could go, JP Morgan previously said that we could see oil rise as high as $130 a barrel in the event it's closed for a prolonged period. On top of that, if the strait was closed, this could turn into a global catastrophe of military escalation, where every single country does everything in their power to get it open as soon as possible, by whatever means necessary. And this isn't even the worst possible case scenario. Iran could also theoretically attack the oil wells in production themselves, pretty much shutting down supply for the rest of the world. So in terms of why the markets are freaking out, what's likely to happen next, and what you could do about this personally, here's what you came for. Although before we go into that, I just have to say that with more money moving online, protecting access to those accounts is becoming just as important as deciding what to invest in. Like, consider this. You could spend years or decades of your life building a portfolio, but logging into your brokerage on public Wi-Fi at a hotel or an airport or when you're out of town could expose your data to networks that you don't control. Not to mention, most people have no idea how much of their personal information is already floating around on the internet, sitting in data broker databases, sold to third parties, and used by spammers or scammers to target you. This is why it is crucial to take your online privacy extremely seriously, and our sponsor Incogni is there to help. Instead of you manually going to shady data broker websites and demanding your information be removed, Incogni is able to do it for you by requesting that your personal data be removed and then dealing with any objections those data brokers might have. Then, since data brokers continue collecting your information even after they've removed it, Incogni makes sure your information stays off the market by conducting repeated removal requests. All you have to do is make an account, grant them the right to work for you, and then sit back while they keep you updated every step of the way. In addition to that, Incogni's Unlimited plan now allows you to submit custom links for removal. So if you find your information exposed on some shady website, you could literally just copy that link, send it to Incogni, and their team will work to get it taken down for you. Plus, you could submit as many of these custom links as you want. So if you're interested in having your personal data taken down, get started today by going to incogni.com/Graham and use the code Graham at checkout to get 60% off an annual plan. The link is also down below in the description. On top of that, they're also available risk-free for 30 days. So anyone could try it out and give it a shot and get a full refund if you're not 100% satisfied. Again, that is incogni.com/Graham with the link down below in the description. Use the code Graham. Thank you so much, and now let's get back to the video. All right, so in terms of what's happening right now, there are 3 ways that this could play out. And just for the record, I approach this from a neutral perspective. I'm not here to pick sides. I don't tell you what's right or wrong. But it is important to understand the realistic implications this is about to have on pretty much everyone watching. So with that said, we have path 1, containment. In this case, de-escalation happens in a few days to maybe a week. Even though we might see a little more retaliation, negotiations are in the works, and things begin to stabilize. If this were to happen, oil prices could rise only a few dollars a barrel. Gas prices would go up only slightly. Inflation would see a marginal uptick, but it's not going to be that bad. Markets would also recover fairly quickly. But if that doesn't happen, we also have path 2, escalation. In this scenario, conflict will last weeks or even months. Peace talks fizzle out. Energy infrastructure and shipping routes are impacted, and insurance costs rise to a point where it's no longer economically feasible to move oil through the region, even without a full closure of Hormuz. In the event that takes place, oil prices could rise way higher than people expect. Inflation could return. GDP might decline. And the Fed then gets stuck in a trap because they can't lower interest rates if inflation persists. But if the economy declines, they'll need to lower interest rates to help them. So it's a classic case of stagflation. But then there is the one that everyone is terrified about, and that would be path 3, a shutdown. If Iran is able to block shipping lanes, we're talking 15 to 18 million barrels of oil a day at risk. The entire Middle East ships through there, and there are very little, if any, alternatives. At that point, anything can happen, because it's not just oil anymore. It's everything. I'm talking groceries, Amazon packages, building materials, foods, fertilizers, you name it. In this case, it's said that for every 5% increase in oil prices, you're looking at roughly 0.1 percentage points added to average inflation. And most of that pass-through happens within about 4 weeks, which is fast. On top of that, like I said earlier, the Strait of Hormuz is also a pathway for fertilizers, which means food, dairy, bread, and so on gets more expensive. Like North America, food inflation is already projected to hit 4.3% in 2026, and for a household with 2 drivers, a $10 to $20 increase in oil prices could add $200 to $500 or more a year in additional costs. So in terms of what's happening today, how this impacts you specifically, and what you could do about it right now, we gotta talk about first, the US dollar. Historically, believe it or not, the dollar actually tends to get a lot stronger during times of economic crisis because it's seen as the world's reserve currency and a flight to safety where a lot of people put their money, in addition to gold. However, tensions like this also create a lot of money printing, to the point where long-term, the dollar is expected to continue to weaken. Second, we also have mortgage rates. See, here's where things get a bit counterintuitive. In the near term, a flight to safety of the dollar could actually push treasury yields down and actually reduce mortgage rates. Like we already saw rates dip below 6% in February for this exact reason. But like I said earlier, if this conflict leads to sustained inflation, the Federal Reserve is not able to cut rates. And once everything balances out, we could see higher interest rates for longer, leading to third, higher household budgets. The bottom line for the average American family is this. In these scenarios, financially, low and middle income households get hit the hardest because energy makes up a bigger percentage of their income. Like higher gas prices mean less money for everything else. And that creates a feedback loop where reduced consumer spending slows the economy, which leads to even more reduced consumer spending. Basically, all of this is a very fancy way of saying the people who could least afford this are usually the ones who pay the most for it. So at the end of the day, what could you actually do about it? Well, from the stock market perspective, Ryan Detrick pointed out that throughout history, during every major geopolitical event since World War II, believe it or not, prices are on average 5% higher 6 months later. On top of that, it's also not unusual for February and March to be some of the weakest months of the entire year. And then from there, the trend resumes higher. Or how about this one? Every geopolitical event in history has been so far followed by a stock market increase. So now is definitely not the time to panic sell or gamble it all away on the small chance that this time is different. Separate from that, another piece of data that's worth mentioning is that so far, midterm years like 2026 historically see the largest peak to trough pullbacks of any year in the presidential cycle. Like since 1950, the average intra-year pullback in a midterm year has been 17.5% compared to just 11 to 13% in other years. But this is the part that really matters. 1 year off those midterm lows has never seen the stock market close lower than that ever. In fact, the average return in the 12 months following a midterm year bottom is 31.7%, and 68% of the time, 1 year returns following those pullbacks have been 30% or more. So if you ever doubt your ability to stay invested during times of chaos, hopefully this provides you with a lot more clarity, because the truth is, there is always a reason not to invest. Finally, I just want to say that I know this entire video is focused around money. That's what I do, that's what this entire channel is about. But deeper than that, there are real people affected, much more than just a portfolio or a gas bill. I genuinely want the best for everyone, and I hope this resolves safely and quickly. But in the meantime, the best thing that you could do for yourself is to be prepared. Understand that financial impacts are only temporary. Stick with the plan, and feel free to comment down below, and I will do my best to read and respond to as many of you as I can. Oh, and also keep in mind that I could also be completely wrong, because I'm just a dude making YouTube videos in a half-converted garage, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to check out our sponsor, Incogni, down below in the description. Thank you again, and until next time.